Welcome back to Finn versus History. I'm with Horatio Gould. And listen, this is part 4 of our plunge into the Russian Revolution.
Our cold plunge.
Our cold plunge. It's very cold. We've been bad.
Our punishing Russian cold plunge into the revolution.
But because the only way we're going to reach enlightenment is by punishing ourselves.
Exactly.
Because the Russians...
There's only truth in pain.
Peg yourself to death for salvation.
To be honest, these couple of years is a bit of a holiday in Russian history. This is some of the least painful years they have.
Yes.
They look back at this as a golden era.
This is the golden era of Russia.
Only 15 million people died in 4 years.
Yep.
Oh, halcyon days.
Yep. They're eating horses raw. Do you remember those beautiful days? You don't know you're born.
If only.
You don't know you're born. What's that? Queuing for bread?
Yeah.
I wish.
We have done a rough history of Russia up to this point.
Now,
we've explained a lot of the key characters, but
listen,
we are now...
I'd like to just, we have to remember at all times that our audience are very, 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 very fat.
Yep.
But also, they're thick.
Ungrateful.
They're ungrateful and they're thick.
Yeah.
And this, I think, what we're about to delve into, 1917 in Russia... We're bitten off more than we can chew.
Definitely.
Now,
above our pay grade.
People might think you don't really chew much on this show. This is a liquid food history, which is what our listeners want, because many of them are in care homes.
Wide gullet all the way down.
They don't know that this is playing on the TV. They can't stop it.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware that they're there. This is mainly for their carers, this show. When we talk about 1917, I texted you yesterday, it's essentially... The amount of stuff that happens in this year in Russia, it's like the entirety of the Troubles in 6 months.
Yes.
But if before every bomb or protest, they had a 10-hour committee meeting about it.
It's a blend.
It's incredibly exciting.
It's 9/11 decided by local council.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Every inch.
It's exciting and it's very boring.
It's true, yeah.
It's both.
It's actually, I don't think any event's been more like that in history, where it's so unbelievably boring and exciting at the same time.
Simultaneously.
Something so truly exhilarating and historic, and it feels like the whole of human history is turning on a knife edge in one day, and then you'll have a 15-hour meeting where nothing gets decided, and it's so
like,
boring.
Should we fly the second plane into the tower? Right. First Congress now in session. What do we do about the second plane?
Yeah.
And it takes 20 hours to decide.
Well, I guess on a sort of 9/11 scale, when 9/11 happens in a morning, right? You know,
in the space of about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, 9/11, and then it's Titanic, which is like 9/11 about 5 hours, right?
Yeah.
And then you have, I guess, the Russian Revolution, where it's 9/11 that happens in about 6 or 7 months, and then you have the Troubles. So we should probably have a sort of scale with stretching out.
So 9/11 is T20, and then the Titanic, I guess, is
the ODI or the 100?
The 100. And then what was the other one you said?
Well, it would be Russian Revolution.
Russian Revolution is I guess the one day. Maybe it's the World Cup. One day World Cup.
Right.
It takes about 6 weeks.
And then the Troubles is Test cricket.
Yeah, the Ashes. Yeah. The highest form of the game, the Troubles.
But then you can also view it as like the whole of Russian history is an ultra Test cricket, you know, because it is just the whole thing is the whole history is 9/11.
The whole thing's an ultra marathon, isn't it? Russian history is an ultra marathon, as is reading any of their books.
It's a really tough mudder.
Yeah.
It's like extremely tough, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a tough mudder, but you die at the end and you get beaten by Cossacks.
It's a fuck mudder, and then you have to eat the Cossacks.
So you know tough mudder that you do with your recruitment team? Imagine that, but you get raped by Cossacks, basically.
Yeah, and also you're not doing it on your weekend, that's your working week. So look, let's just try. In 1917, I think it's. We must remember that people listening are very
to place it.
So to place 1917, first of all, this is before England won the World Cup.
Yep.
And it is after Florence Nightingale started
running her mouth,
titty fucking people in the Crimean war beds. Is that what she did?
Titty fucked them?
Was she the first wet nurse?
Right, but so how does she titty fuck? Doesn't she? She'd get titty fucked.
I think she gets. She gets her tits out, and then everyone feels a bit better, and then she calls that nursing. I think is what happens. I'm not completely sure. It's female history, and so that's female prehistory.
It's
because female history starts around 1980, I think.
Right, so it's like Sapiens.
Yeah, when the big I would like to write a Sapiens, but it's for women. And it's like the year zero is like when the big sippy cup's invented in the 2000s.
Or the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. That's year zero for women. Before that, there's just sort of unconfirmed rumours about whether they're
it's completely spurious. We can't know.
Joan of who? No, unconfirmed. Anyway, so what's going to happen in 1917, which will guide our next 2 episodes, is that there's going to be a revolution in February. Mm-hmm. There's a different revolution in October.
Yep.
And then all hell breaks loose. Mm-hmm. In between the 2 revolutions, there's a lot of very mad shit as well. So we're going to get there slowly. We're going to try and take you with us. We're going to try and pour this.
Some of you will be left behind.
Some of you will be as you are in life.
And we will not stop for stragglers.
We will leave men behind because we're cowards.
We're going to shoot our horses.
Shoot the horses.
If they have a limp.
Yeah. Our audience.
Every man left behind.
Every man for themselves. So, January 1917, to pick up the timeline, Rasklat Putin is dead.
Yeah, even though he's come back from like 5 times. Like,
from
the dead.
Nicholas II is now on the front line in charge of the
with
Russian...
his big boy pants on.
With his big boy
and
pants on.
his high-pitched voice.
Oh, excuse me, can you not do that? He's in charge of the Russian forces on the line. The World War I's going very badly.
Yeah.
His son is a hebephile, can't stop wanking over 14-year-olds. He starts wanking, he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And so his wife, the Tsarina, I can't remember what her name is.
Alexandra.
She is sort of in charge, and it's all going very badly.
She's very woo-woo, mystics, kind of crystals, but she's now running an empire.
Yeah. And Russia's probably the least crystally place on Earth. In terms of like hippy-dippy shit.
Yeah.
Ironically.
I mean, scary hippy-dippy shit, I guess, when you get out into Siberia and Rasputin and stuff like that.
Yes, there's more cult.
Like the sex cult. I don't know if that's crystals.
That's not hippy dippy shit, is it?
I guess if you're fucking a crystal, I don't know if that's still crystals.
I'm into crystals, really. Yeah, I shove them up my arse.
Yeah, it's not the same
thing.
But what's interesting about 1917 February is that is when the kind of first revolution, at the beginning of this revolutionary year.
Yeah.
But it kind of happens quite unexpectedly, right? All of the big players aren't in town.
No. Where are they? Where are the players?
Stalin is in Siberia, still in exile.
And he's
playing a bit of a background role at this point.
Yeah.
So no one knows if he's going to be a big guy at all. He's just been doing dirty work. He's not really a big player at this point.
I'm a fool to do your dirty work.
That's a song about Stalin.
Steely Dan. Yeah, big Stalin fan, Steely Dan.
Empathizing with Stalin's experience in the early revolution.
Interestingly, Steely Dan, one of their big songs, is an ode, a sort of mournful ode to being a paedophile.
Right.
Hey 19.
I don't know. I'm not a big Steely Dan guy.
I'm a huge Steely Dan guy.
It's sort of this revolution turns into Steely Grain, doesn't it?
It does turn into Steely Grain. Yeah.
But anyway, Trotsky is in New York being arrogant, chatting shit.
One of the biggest wankers of all time, in my opinion.
What is it? Ponce nose?
He's got
Pasne, which means pinch nose, right?
Yeah, it's these little glasses that have no arms.
Yeah, it is wanky. It's a strapless bra for your face.
Yes. The ultimate fuckboy. One of the biggest. You know, if you're in a kitchen with him, you're cut.
You're getting ghosted. He's got a tote bag. He's reading Sally Rooney, and he'll never text you back.
Trotsky founded COS. He does that slightly after February 1917. Yeah. That's what he wears. Yeah. He's a nightmare. And then Lenin
is in Zurich, still furiously huffing and puffing. He's like, I'm going to die. I'm never going to be able to bust my revolutionary nut.
Yeah, sex gets in the way of a good time for Lenin. Yeah. He likes reading and writing.
The only real cum he can have is the cum of the revolution, right?
Yeah.
So sexual cums mean nothing to him. This is a very low pleasure. The only real pleasure is a proletariat, a dictatorship of the proletariat. That's the only time I feel like I'm bust.
He wants to wrap the bourgeoisie round his neck. And then come proletariat hammers and sickles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to be honest, we've studied a lot of history on this podcast. A theme of the great men of history is they are looking for the higher cum.
Yeah.
It's not these little comes here and there that you pigs are going after. The great men of history, they dedicate their life to one extraordinary cum.
Just searching for the hardest cum.
Gaddafi, over his truck. Hitler. It's about your life building up to one extraordinary, cum that reverberates through the urges.
Eyes on the prize. The cum that was heard around the world. That's Gaddafi's at last stage.
He's in Zurich, and they all, there's definitely discontent in Russia, of course, but the revolution takes them all by surprise. Basically, there's a lot of strikes happening in Petrograd, mainly because the train lines have been frozen, so a lot of the bread isn't coming through. There's a lot
and people love bread.
Well, they only have bread. You're speaking as if it's a choice. As if, like, they have lots of salad, there's lots of different options.
Well, as we discussed, Russian salad is sort of bread and mayonnaise. It's a disgrace.
It's still bread.
An absolute disgrace. And the bread's also, it's like black bricks. You could build a house with Russian bread.
Yeah.
It's like rye, black bread.
Yeah. But it's all they've got to eat.
It must all be very, very bloated as a people. at this point.
Exactly. Because I guess it is interesting how, as someone who, I struggle to digest a lot of bread, I'm a little bit gluten intolerant, and the amount, it's quite triggering how much bread plays a part in, in the Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
Give us this day our daily bread. It doesn't take into account people who struggle to digest bread.
Are you saying that's on the Christianity to change?
I think they should. I think it's like, it's one food type and it's excluding a lot of people who maybe struggle with bread.
That's got to be surely the end point of woke is when gluten intolerant people are campaigning for the end of the Lord's Prayer.
Well, it's just, it's very specific. Can we not have a more kind of general food? Then why is the specificity of bread?
Give us this day our daily rice.
No, that's still, it should be our daily food or something, or like...
No, but Jesus turns into bread, doesn't he? I don't fucking know. I don't care. Is Jesus a big loaf of bread? I don't know. I don't fucking care.
Anyway, these strikes and demonstrations are increasing in Petrograd. And on the 23rd of February, there is an International Women's Day march. They're burning bras.
This is the first one, actually.
Is it?
This is a Leninist invention. Yes. International Women's Day, and they are in Petrograd in the street, and they are chanting for bread. Which again, it's very funny.
Their bras.
It's very funny to think of white women in the streets chanting for bread.
Yeah,
because nowadays, obviously, they'd be no, I don't. They're scared of bread, aren't they?
They're scared of bread because it's
salad, lettuce, green cucumbers, matcha. Exactly,
it'll be a matcha riot these days.
Yeah, with the Goose Cleanse diet. But in these days, the past a foreign country. They're in Russia. They're chanting for bread. This horrible black bread that you could build a house with.
Yep.
And
Russia, a very sexist, chauvinistic culture, very traditional culture. So having the first women's march there is quite...
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It's mad. It's strange.
So these guys, they're all wearing like pussy hats.
Yeah, well-behaved women don't make history, that sort of stuff.
This is hashtag Me Too is the start of it as well. Hashtag Me Too.
Hashtag bread now I'm starving.
Hashtag bread too, please. And what happens is the Cossacks, who are kind of that I think... I'm right in saying that Peter...
We haven't explained the Cossacks, actually.
No, I don't think we have to, but Peter the Great sort of invented a kind of Praetorian Guard, I understand.
No, that's the Streltsy.
Right.
So the Cossacks are it's kind of to be honest, the Cossack in many ways is sort of like the American cowboy.
Oh,
These kind of outlaw cavalry, and they often get conscripted to be an elite cavalry force.
Right.
But they're all over Russia, but mainly focused in the Don region around Ukraine.
So instead of cowboys...
The idea of the Cossacks
instead of cowboys
like
and Indians, you'd have like Cossacks and Eskimos.
That's
their version of it.
Well, it's that they have these... there's loads of racism in this region, but if you're not from this region, you all look the same.
Right.
That's what's funny about the kind of racial tensions in Russia, is it's all specific types of other white. You know when you're ticking the boxes?
White other.
White other.
Gypsy.
Yeah. Just, to all of us, you're all white other. So I don't know what you guys are fighting about.
Yeah, exactly.
But to them, it's like, he's completely different from me. It's like, he's Polish, he's Latvian. It's like, you're the same, lad.
You're all the same. You've got a good lager, you've got a strong work ethic.
Terrible salad.
Terrible salad. Nothing worse than an Eastern European salad.
Yes.
Actually, there's quite a lot worse that we're about to get into.
We're going to get into, they do quite a lot of worse things.
So the Cossacks are told, this is the Tsarist move, is you just shoot anyone who's facing you in your direction. Mm-hmm. The Cossacks...
I guess it's probably seen as a socialist thing, the February Revolution, because it's an Innovation Women's Day, so it's probably feels quite aggressive.
Yeah, I guess so. They go, none of this, please. And so the Cossacks, they defy orders and they cross the picket line, I guess.
Because they're fed up as well, because a lot of them are getting sent to the front line, dying there. They're also starving.
I think what I was going to say about the Praetorian Guard element was that they had been put into the meat grinder of the front,
right?
Because they were just putting so many men. So these troops, maybe they are Cossacks, and so they, if they hadn't fed the Praetorian Guard to the front, maybe they wouldn't have crossed the line here.
Exactly.
But the Cossacks go, fuck this, we're with these hot chicks, wearing pussy hats, and they're those annoying kind of like feminist allies that were on the march.
This is what feminist looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Please get a picture of Benedict Cumberbatch. This is what feminist looks like. We might need to go back over that at some point culturally. That kind of 2013, 2012 era when Nick Clegg was wearing it, when I guess you don't know at the time how it's going to be looked back on.
Oh my God.
Look at the state of that.
Yeah, that's a very much, that's a pre-2016 face, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because nowadays you wouldn't make that face with a slogan like that.
What would the slogan be?
Stop the boats.
Yeah, but stop the boats?
I think I'm right.
Is stop the boats like this?
No, nowadays it is.
Is it like stop? What? But is it? Are you smug about stop the boat?
I think we should stop the boats. It'd be quite funny to have like a smug right winger Because it's always the left that are smug, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the right that are angry. And if it was the other way around, it'd be quite funny to have like a smug, send them back. I think we should send them back.
They will not replace us. I mean, that is just... We need to hang that in a museum as to like... the past is a different country.
I think that's the smuggest face I've ever seen on anyone.
That is extraordinary.
And
Two fingers.
I mean, can you actually imagine a more punchable man? He's called Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's wearing a t-shirt.
This is what a feminist looks like.
Oh,
Christ!
That's what a fucking cunt looks like. We should get t-shirts to say that. This is what a cunt looks like.
At the time, you must have felt like you were on the right side of history.
Yes,
and that it'll be looked back on as... He imagined in 15 years' time we'd look back on and be like, wow, this person knew this was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And he couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
That look has aged like sour milk.
It's aged pretty badly. Yeah. No one trusts those guys anymore.
No.
It turns out they're just looking for another way to get nookie.
Yes, exactly.
Benedict, come up your patch, more like. Anyway. There's a huge march of big, doughy women demanding black bread.
Yeah.
And the Cossacks cross the picket line, they side with them, and there are now big riots. The 24th, 27th of February, the protests swell, the soldiers mutiny, the Petrograd Soviet is formed. Now, do you want to explain what that is?
So a Soviet were formed in the 1905 revolution. Soviet is Russian for sort of council or meeting.
So the Soviet Union is the union of meetings, which is incredibly
It's the
boring.
meeting of the union of meetings, meeting each other for unions.
Yeah.
To make sure that we can union, we need to meet, and that's why we need to have all in one name.
Before we do anything, though, we need to decide on this by having a meeting. It's insane.
Is this a meeting? Does the meeting start? No, this is a meeting about when we're going to have the meeting.
Yeah.
This is the union of people who want to start meetings.
Who's going to take the minutes for this meeting? Let's have a meeting to decide. And who's going to take the minutes for that? It's a Russian doll of meetings is what this country is. So, that's
Soviets have gone all over the country, right? And it's a council of workers, basically.
A trade union.
And some local representation. But the Petrograd Soviet, which was set up by Trotsky in 1905, becomes incredibly important because all of this change, though there's lots of stuff happening all over the empire, is going to be focused on the city of Petrograd.
So these riots, these bread riots, this spontaneous February revolution is where the Tsarist regime collapses because Rasklar Putin, he's smoking spliffs in the sky, he's done. The Tsarina is, she's got ME, she's just sort of, every historian I've heard talk about her, she's like, oh, she's just a bit shit.
Yes.
They don't really qualify, just go, she's just bad.
Completely delusional.
Yeah.
My people love me.
Yeah.
That they'll never tell them that they're
she was saying, Queen Victoria was like, shouldn't you give the, who's Queen Victoria, who's her grandma, was saying, shouldn't you give the Russians like a bit of democracy? And the Tsarina was like, no, I know Russians. They don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
They love, Tsars are like God.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is months before they're completely run out of town. So basically, it's only at this point that the Tsar is sort of realizes that maybe the game's up, and he goes to try and get back to St. Petersburg, Petrograd. But the revolutionaries have control of the railways, or the railway workers basically don't let him get on the train back. Yeah. And then on the 2nd of March, he's basically surrounded by his generals on the front, and they essentially peer pressure him into abdicating. Yeah. It's not really, it's sort of a coup.
I think because of how tense everything's got and how explosive it could be and how explosive it becomes, it is kind of interesting. Both with February and October, how both of those are actually they go with like a sort of bit of a whimper.
Yeah.
After all this time, it's sort of like the Tsar cuts a figure of sort of like Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. He's quite just a down and, okay.
300 years of a dynasty, one family have ruled with the biggest landmass in the planet. In a train, you should abdicate.
Very well.
He comes not with a bang but with a whimper.
And Tsar Nicholas, because he never really wanted to be Tsar, he didn't really like doing the job that much. So as much as he held on to it, I think he feels like he's just so worn down and tired. He goes, fine, I guess not.
And so this is on the 2nd of March, and then a provisional government is formed, initially led by a guy called Prince Lvov.
Yep. Who I think is that not his son? No, he's not his son.
No, so he's going to abdicate in favour of his son, the Hebephile, but he's too horny for 13-year-olds, and he's young. So they go, that's not fair.
Because there's still now that he's abdicated, it's what's the next system we're going to use? And
well, no,
that's what
because
this
then they
next couple of
say
months-
I'll do it for my brother, who's Michael.
Because there's still a push for maybe a constitutional monarch.
Yeah, but then Michael goes, fuck that.
Yeah.
This country's insane.
Yeah.
These people love suffering.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the figurehead for that.
Yeah.
So then basically they realise that the institution of monarchy is done. And then they form this provisional government.
Yeah.
And the Romanov family, they're all put together, and their story is not over, but they are placed under house arrest at the Alexander Palace in Sokoy Selo, which is in Siberia. And actually, supposedly, they have quite a nice time for the next 8 months.
Because one thing about, as bad as the Tsar Nicholas II has been, his decision-making has been terrible, how mad the Tsarina has been. Yeah. Something that is kind of, I guess, more human about them is that they do genuinely love each other.
Yeah.
And they have a very happy family, and they just enjoy...
5 girls and a little hebephile,
and they just have like quite an idyllic family life. And
for the next 8 months.
For the next 8 months, it gets pretty nasty for a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're out in the countryside. He's going for long walks, and he's like, "This is what I want to do."
It's basically like wife swap.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, do you know what? Outside the palace, where I've got to cut my own logs for the fire, I'm actually having a lovely time in the fresh air. I'm working. I'm working. I'm sleeping better. Me and Alexandra are getting on better. You know, this is living. They're playing cards. I'm talking to my kids. Do you know what? I really like this.
Well, it's first lockdown. Some people.
It's exactly what it is. It's first lockdown. The weather's really nice. And what they don't know is that they've got the third lockdown coming. Which I'll say this now. If only I had gone what they went through instead of the third lockdown. Right. I lost my mind in the third lockdown.
Did you?
Yeah. I listened to the same song on repeat for about 4 months.
What, like a psychopath?
Like a psychopath. Yeah.
What, like you were making yourself Guantanamo Bay?
This is where I started inventing just characters, email addresses and characters. I was pretending to be people and just messaging them. I started flirting with an agent.
Yeah.
An influencer's agent started flirting with him as a woman. Just went fucking mad.
So you wish you'd been killed, basically.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin the story because it's pretty mental. But they don't live. They don't last the year. Anyway, what pray tell, now that the Romanovs have fallen and there's a provisional government, what do our grotty little kitchen incels? What do they do now?
Hold up. Because it's not only the provisional government, but it's an agreement because the Petrograd Soviet is so powerful now. Because there's all the workers and some of the people in the navy at the Kronstadt, which is that floating naval base, right?
Yeah.
They set up a system called dual power. So it's not only, this makes it even more meetings, even more bureaucracy. There's the provisional government and there's also the Petrograd Soviet, and both of those are going to run the country, right? Or run Petrograd.
But who's in charge?
That's the thing. That's what's so mad about this period is that there's no authority because
you have no authority, Jackie Weaver.
It's a lot of that.
It's Jackie
Weaver. There's a lot of Jackie Weavers.
Oh my god, that's the reason I've struggled with this.
There's
history.
So many Jackie Weavers.
There's 10 Jackie Weavers.
And whoever the guy is saying you got no authority.
That's me. I'm the one calling the council leader Herr Kommandant or Oberstalsführer.
And then I guess if you're Lenin or Trotsky, hearing about this, you can't believe it, you know.
Yeah.
You're dropping your cornflakes when you're reading about this in the papers.
Sorry, was there a house party and there was a kitchen that I didn't lecture someone? Oh, fuck. I've missed it. Oh, no.
Yeah. So now they're desperately trying to find a way back.
Did I not tell someone that women should be paid the same? Oh, my God. What am I meant to do with myself? Yeah. Absolute wankers to a man.
So they need to find a way to get back because this is all their life's work, and now they're getting the ultimate FOMO. Yeah. How's this happen without me being there?
Yeah, because Lenin, stuff happens, and then before he does anything, he's like, well, I need to check what the theory says about this. Because he's always trying to reinterpret events through the prism of Marx and Engels.
Yeah. Do you know what he finds?
I couldn't care less.
Yeah. But how Lenin returns back to the city is he's obviously exiled in Zurich. To get back to Russia, you have to go through an active war zone and enemy territory.
This is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
This is absolutely crazy, this bit of the story. And is he disguising himself yet?
No.
No, okay.
It's a sealed train.
Now, what does that mean?
I don't really know.
Obviously, Germans love a sealed train, famously.
Yeah.
The opposite of an Indian train. They're far too unsealed, I'd say.
Basically, it doesn't have stops where people check or checks and balances just go straight through, I imagine.
So it's a direct train.
It's a direct train, no stops.
It's a bullet train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, there's a deal done with the Bolsheviks and the Germans that they'll send Lenin through as a sort of virus.
Yeah, this is amazing. There's a Churchill quote about this.
What?
It's that so they do send Lenin through Germany to Petrograd, and Churchill says, "The Germans have unleashed the greatest weapon they've ever known."
Yeah,
Lenin.
yeah.
Like basically, like a sort of a bacillus or a petri dish. They basically want to.
It's a disease
Russia.
pangolin. They're just sending hurtling towards Petrograd.
It's a guy fucking a bat in a train, and they're just going to open it and just unleash
obviously
hell.
because Lenin's had a really anti-war stance, they're thinking if he goes and disrupts,
I think war's actually really bad.
They just didn't erupt for oil.
I think war's really bad.
Yeah, that's a really good impression, actually. Yeah, that's Lenin.
So they send this disease hurtling back to Petrograd. The Germans let it go through because it's going to destroy their war.
Do you know how that is negotiated?
It's negotiated with the Bolsheviks, and I think Stalin helps potentially.
So the Bolsheviks, and because when they arrive, everyone assumes, or there's a rumor that starts that they're German spies, right?
That happens a bit later.
But because that is a betrayal in a sense, isn't it?
But Lenin doesn't view it as betrayal.
No, of course
because
not.
he has no interest about how Russia does in the war because he thinks it's an imperialist war. That's not a war of the Russian peoples anyway.
He's also Russian, so he loves suffering.
Yes, so it's like brilliant.
Yeah.
A loss is a win for me.
Yeah, exactly. Am I closer to being killed? Brilliant.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of every cloud in a way.
It's the opposite of every cloud.
What's that then?
Every cloud could fall on me and I could die.
So he arrives after this, how long is the journey? Find out how long that journey is, because it's probably one of the most famous train journeys of all time.
At this point, there's a bustling network of trains that are going to become very famous in about 20 years. Oh, here we go. Lenin's sealed train. 8 days. So sealed train implies that he's like in a cattle car. But is he? Trains at this day and age are quite nice. There's the dining car. There's the.
I don't know. I know that there was one toilet between 20 people in there.
Right.
And, I think Lenin started organising the toilet like communism.
They had to have a meeting before he had a poo.
No, genuinely, it was like a really the share of the toilet had to be completely equal.
Oh my god. A rising tide lifts all poos.
I think so. A lot of exiled Bolsheviks are on the train. His wife's on the train. His mistress is on the train. His much untalked about mistress.
He's in a polycule, of course.
He's in his polycule.
He's in a polycule.
Sealed.
He's
that's what
sealed.
A polycule is a sealed train. In many ways. It's a sealed fuck train. Lenin definitely wouldn't check his phone on the toilet. He's one of those kind of guys. Lenin, while he's taking a shit, stares into the middle distance until he's finished.
Lenin's raw dogging flights.
Yeah. Lenin, 100%.
100% he's raw dogging flights.
Raw dogging flights.
He's 24 hours to Australia. Just thinking about revolution. Not even reading, just thinking.
He's just thinking about it.
He loves thinking, this guy.
He loves it.
Yeah.
That's why he's lost all his hair. Because it's just
thought it all out.
The heat coming off his brain.
Yeah.
That's why Charlie has so much hair on his head.
Do you know what I'd love to do? I'd love to go back in time and just slap him on the head.
He doesn't seem like you're not really changing the course of history, are you?
No. I'd like to go back in time and shake Hitler's hand, but I'd like to go back in time. Can I just shake your hand? He's a baby. Just thank you.
You don't know me.
You don't know me, but I'm a big fan. Long time listener, first time caller. No, I want to just slap Lenin.
Mm-hmm.
In the office, that guy Malcolm, who they debag.
Yeah,
that's what I'd like to do to Lenin.
So you slap? Or do you know what would be more satisfying? American cheese from a distance, and you fling it, and so he's in the middle of giving a very sincere, earnest speech, and then, if you'd done this at this speech coming up, it would have changed the course of history.
I'd love to go back in time and do that.
So when he arrives back from the sealed train, and this is kind of one of the most iconic moments, because there's so much that happens, there's kind of few
Lenin on the railway car
images that really define this, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yeah.
Because even me looking through this history, I'm like, I don't know, there's not many tent poles that are in the popular imagination to hold on to.
Because it's absolute chaos.
It's chaos. But this seems to be one of the kind of really historic moments.
Yeah.
After this 8 days in a sealed train sharing one toilet with 20 other dirty commies, he, so much is his focus being the most awake man of all time.
He's raw dogged 8 days.
Yeah. As soon as he's arrived, with all the jet lag, whatever, he immediately is met by all of this workers, Bolsheviks, but a huge crowd of people have gathered round at Finland Station.
They've been paid to be there with free beer. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Smart.
The Bolsheviks have gone, Lenin's arriving, and everyone's like, who the fuck's that? Because no one knows who he is.
Yeah.
But the Bolsheviks are like, right, free beer.
Like, bread?
They're like, oh, great, beer,
Drink bread.
Yeah, fizzy bread.
Because also at this point, and what's kind of I find so thrilling about this story, just for a narrative sense, is just how the Bolsheviks, from such a small fringe group, they managed to slowly grow support in a space of a couple of months. Lenin stands on top of the train and delivers a very important speech where basically he's one of the only people who's offering simple, clear solutions to people's problems.
Get Brexit done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace, land and bread, power to the Soviets, which he has no intention of doing, by the way. It's one of his, as Anthony Beevor would say, it's one of his three great lies.
Anthony Beevor?
Anthony Beevor. Yeah, Beevor's uncle. Beevor's granddad. And he gives a great speech and riles people up. They're pissed on beer. Now, if you'd gone back in time with a bit of American cheese, which they have no idea what that is. This is Russia. Their cheese is not like that at all.
They don't have cheese.
And you just flung just perfectly and it just slapped him. It would have undermined this whole speech and the revolution would look very differently.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
We would not know. What world would we live in if I'd done that?
Yeah.
Or it's cheese, or it's like a little petit flou and just splatter yogurt like that.
And then it just sort of...
And do you know who that man is?
Who?
Mikhail Gorbachev.
Right.
Who was, of course, he was there and someone threw yogurt on him.
Do you know about have we talked about the history of Russian leaders? Bald, hairy, bald, hairy, bald, hairy. We discussed that.
I don't think we have.
Because now you brought up Gorbachev. There's an extraordinary continuity of having a bald leader, then a leader with hair, then a bald leader, then a leader with hair, which continues to happen up until Putin.
But Putin is balding.
Bald, hairy. Go on,
it's got its own Wikipedia page.
Is a common joke in Russian political discourse referring to the empirical rule of state leader succession defined as a change of bald or balding leader to a hairy one or vice versa. Let's go through it.
So
it goes all the way back.
It goes all the way back to Nicholas I.
Nicholas I, scroll down, Alexander II. Wait, go down. So let's just go to the people we know. So even does George Lvov, right? So we even talked about this. Yeah. So George Lvov, who we've mentioned, and we're going to come to Alexander Kerensky. Yeah. He's got hair. He's got wonderful head of hair. He's he's very much like a technocratic centrist looking. He's Blair. Or Nick Clegg. Yeah. Then Lenin, it's Vladimir Lenin, bald. Famously bald. Then it's Stalin.
Hair.
Well, Beria doesn't really count because it was for like a week.
But he's bald.
He's bald. It is bald. And then it's Malenkov. Then it's Khrushchev, bald. Then it's Brezhnev, hair. Then it's Andropov, bald. Then it's Chernenko, hair. Then it's Gorbachev, bald. Then it's Yeltsin, hair. Then it's Vladimir Putin, balding. Then it's Medvedev, hair. Then it's Putin again, balding. That's quite extraordinary.
Incredible, isn't it?
So it means when Putin falls, he needs to be looking at... I can see Putin being so kind of like paranoid that he kills anyone with hair. To make sure that
just kills all people with hair.
To make sure that no one can take his place. Because the consistency of that is actually freaky.
So I guess with British prime ministers, you know, you don't have bald, hairy. If you go back to like, Callaghan, gay, Thatcher, fit, Major, gay.
Thatcher, fit?
Let me finish. Major, gay, Blair, fit, Brown, gay, Cameron, fit.
But then I think your idea of fit is so removed from
I'm trying to get to Liz Truss fit. I've not counted this out.
I mean, you really, you've botched yourself into a corner there.
Liz
when
Truss
you're saying Thatcher fit.
Liz Truss, don't Google Liz Truss naked, Charlie. Put her in the Lorraine Kelly and the Cherie Blair pile.
I'll tell you what Liz Truss would look great in.
For names,
a Mrs. Incredible outfit.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Elastigirl.
Yeah,
I could see Liz Truss being Elastigirl.
You could dress Liz Truss in a slice of Parma ham and I'd be happy. Just drape some ham over her.
Yeah. What was it? Scrape me on toast, I'm finished. What was it? What was the thing you said?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Sounds like me. Anyway, look, we're hurtling. So Lenin makes this big speech.
Now we're gonna have to. It is interesting if you care about this stuff. There's so much. Meetings.
It is interesting if you care about it, yeah.
Well, that's not us.
No.
So we won't be able to go into a lot of the detail of what happens in the next couple of months. Apart from one of the key things is Alexander Kerensky, who I think is one of the key figures who people don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know him before
I didn't know at all about him. Basically, Kerensky is a very popular lawyer. He is quite charismatic. He's got a full head of hair.
He's been in the Duma.
Yes.
Which is the Duma, it's the parliament.
Yes. The sort of fake parliament that has no power.
Yeah, they just sort of...
easy bake oven parliament.
Have meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how Kerensky came out when I was reading about him, he seems to have that sort of Nick Clegg sort of centrist feel to him.
Yeah.
He is a socialist revolutionary.
A hollow centrism.
Yes. He is popular though, and he basically is the least offensive candidate to all sides.
Yeah.
He's a socialist revolutionary, but he's also moderate. He is the only person to have a place on both the Petrograd Soviet and the provisional government.
And is he a Menshevik?
I think, no, he's a socialist revolutionary, which is the biggest party of the socialists, but it's kind of this quite disparate, unclear, vague.
Are they the
socialism.
same as the party as the Bolsheviks?
No.
Right.
They're all socialist parties.
Yeah.
But there's so many different sects.
Yeah.
There's the socialist revolutionaries. The socialist revolutionaries break into two halves, the right socialist revolutionaries and the left socialist revolutionaries, which are so different they might as well be different parties.
Yeah.
Then there's the Mensheviks. Then there's the Bolsheviks. Then there's loads of others.
It's chaos.
Not
one clean bottom between them.
There's not one clean bottom to share. They are. They're sharing one towel.
That's why they've got dirty bottoms. When does the policy come in that they should only use one piece of toilet paper and pass it around?
I don't actually know. I think they had a lot of extensive meetings on that.
Big meeting about it. Yeah,
so it took a while.
And then there was a toilet break during the meeting.
There was a toilet break,
they didn't know what to do. They
didn't know what to do because it's like the old rules.
They had to put it to a vote. Anyway, look.
So Kerensky is very popular at first, and his story is kind of interesting. He becomes Minister of War and then goes to the front line, and the people love him, and he's giving these really dramatic speeches. He's a very flamboyant speaker. He does these kind of he's doing this tour of the front line where he's trying to get morale up.
Yeah.
And he is so over the top that he will faux faint a lot of the time.
Like James Brown.
Yeah.
You've seen those clips of James Brown?
So he's got a cloth and he's dabbing.
Get the footage of James Brown.
That's what Kerensky's doing on the front.
Yeah. And he goes down, and then someone comes around with a cloak,
yes,
and leads Kerensky off, and then Kerensky throws the cloak off. Yeah.
And I think what's interesting about Kerensky is, though he's quite a moderate, level-headed guy who hasn't made many enemies, I do think
imagine Hitler doing that. I'd love to do that for Hitler.
What?
I'd love to be the guy that puts the cloak over Hitler as he's walking off, and he's like, "Hush, blood!" and he comes back in. That'd be great. Anyway, sorry. Kerensky's making these big speeches.
He's making these big speeches. Even though he's quite like a moderate, common sense seeming guy, it does seem the kind of running with power, the speeches, from what I'm getting from him, does sort of warp him a little bit.
Doesn't he call himself Napoleon, or is that someone else?
Yes, I think so. He
sees himself as like the Russia's Napoleon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he then, on a wave of support, actually, he announces the Kerensky offensive.
Is it a wave of support? Because I think something we should talk about is the war is... Everyone hates the war.
Yes, but
right?
there's a march in Petrograd with lots of people with pictures of Kerensky and supporting him. So there is support for him.
Fine.
Or this guy's going to sort us out.
Yeah.
This guy's going to be the new leader. Obviously, there's people who don't support him. He then launches the Kerensky offensive, and for a tiny bit it works. So there's a kind of boost of morale. Kerensky's going to save the war effort. He's now having these ideas that he's not only a politician, a lawyer, he's going to be a great historic military leader. And I think that's what's interesting about this whole story is a lot of these figures, so many of them could have been the people we talk about. Do you know what I mean? Like, we only talk about Lenin because he ended up on top, but there's all these figures who are... there's so many different permutations that could have happened.
Yeah.
It's not inevitable at all.
No.
February's inevitable.
Yes.
It's inevitable that the Tsardom would fall via a popular thing, but everything else past that, it could have literally been anything.
Is this the only time in history International Women's Day has actually done anything?
Seemingly.
Because I can't remember one since where anything's changed. It's also, I think it must be... I like the idea that there was someone at the back of the march going, "When's International Men's Day? When's that? When's International Men's Day? Can we have one? Oh, we're having a revolution now. Okay, fine. No, sorry, never mind."
Maybe that's what kicked off the revolution.
Yeah, it's someone...
when is
International Men's Day? This is a disgrace. There's women on the street. When's Men's Day? Why don't we get a day?
Yeah, so the revolution started with International Women's Day, and then pretty much no women are involved past that.
That's the last women in the story. Until they're the Romanovs get murdered. That's the last time I mentioned anyone.
Anyway, the military offensive works for a little bit, and then it completely collapses. The Germans are far better than the Russians.
Blood!
And it is devastating on the front lines. There's so many deserters. There are full lines of people with machine guns. I don't even know if the Russians have machine guns, who are mowing down deserters. So they have to set up a whole line of people to mow down deserters.
Behind their own line?
Behind their own
They've
line.
set up machine guns to fire people running back.
It's the most Russian thing of all time.
Yeah, and they're all loving it. They've all won a competition.
It's Takeshi's castle of suicide.
It's Russian Takeshi's castle, which is just running into machine gun fire.
Vladimir's castle is...
And Craig Charles is commentating. So that's June.
That's June.
Yeah.
And then... with this sort of pandemonium...
Sorry, has Lenin gone away again?
Not yet.
Not yet. So Lenin's still in Petrograd?
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, because of the collapse of the Kerensky offensive, this is seen as another brief window. They're all waiting their time. When is the time that we're going to launch the Bolshevik Revolution? Edging, because you got to nail it.
It's the hardest come ever.
You got to make sure that you're edging at the right point.
What if it's one of those comes where you're like, oh no,
and then you've ruined it because you're thinking...
ruined it, and you try and pull out at the wrong time, and then you're like, oh no, and you just kind of like...
A cum that sounds like you've fallen...
do you know what I mean?
A cum that sounds like you've fallen down a well, when instead it should sound like you're skydiving. It should be like... oh God! Ah! Like one of those ones, when instead it should be... Ah! You know?
Oh no.
Oh fuck.
Oh.
And to be fair, he fucked his cum up.
Who does?
The Bolsheviks. Because in this pandemonium, they organise armed demonstrations. Even though they're a minority, they've got the support of the workers, and they've got the support of some sailors from the Kronstadt. And they all launch a demonstration. The revolution's about to start. And it basically fails.
This is July.
The July days.
The July days, it's called.
And it kind of feels like the Bolsheviks have completely fucked it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have enough support. They've gone too early. He's jizzed in the condom.
Yeah.
It's like before even going in.
And this is on the streets of Petrograd in these kind of the first week of July. It's fucking... all bets are off.
All bets are off.
Anarchy.
And it's just not organised well enough. The provisional government still have, even though they don't have much authority, even though they're terribly run, they still manage to suppress the uprising.
Well, the one part of the state that's still functioning is the Okhrana, the secret police.
Yes.
So
seemingly throughout all of Russian history, no matter how fucked the state ever is, their secret police is always
the one thing they're good at is secret police.
Always. Poisoning people, doesn't matter what's happened.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
All the way from the Streltsy to the Okhrana to the KGB.
And people talk about like our police force, our secret services sort of going down the toilet. What we need to do is just completely ruin everything else, stop everything else, stop the NHS, stop any kind of like infrastructure, stop HS2, and then MI6 will take over the world. Yeah, or we could rebrand the MI6 as the NHS. Imagine that's what our new service is called, to kind of make them seem less intimidating. Well, so clapping for the NHS is clapping for MI6. The NHS got him. Oh. Well, James Bond is Howard Shipman. He's got the NHS badge on. Oh, I see, right. But basically then after this, the government basically has a big clampdown on all Bolsheviks. They capture Trotsky, they throw him in jail. Lenin, who is also very good at escaping. God, Trotsky in jail is going to be insufferable, isn't it? What do you mean? In jail, just with other people being like, actually... You're locked in with him. I think the biggest terrorist in the world is actually the Russian government. I think George Bush is the number one terrorist in the world, actually. So there's few places you'd like to be less than stuck in jail with Trotsky. I just don't want to be anywhere near that guy. But locked in the cell with Trotsky. Fucking hell. You're permanently at a 5 a.m. kitchen. And he's just there like this, just like, I'll tell you another thing I don't think is fair. I'll tell you what else is shit. Go on. You heard a little place called Sudan? Yeah. Apparently that's really bad at the moment. I don't actually know what's going on in Sudan. I just hear people talk about Israel going, why aren't they talking about Sudan? Yeah. Why aren't they? I don't know. I mean, I've still got the French flag on my Facebook profile. Why do people stop doing that? Yeah. for the Bataclan. Right, we're back to the July days. Yeah, so sorry, Trotsky's in jail. Trotsky's been thrown in jail. And his cellmate kills himself, probably. Yes, probably. I don't know. Probably kills himself. What the fuck happened here? Trotsky was telling stories of like 12 people with their brains blown up. Dead. All the dead in the Russian Revolution is because Trotsky did one speech and everyone went, fuck this. And this is one of my favourite bits, actually. Yeah. Lenin managed to escape, has a daring escape. Obviously, the provisional government, the Okhrana, are trying to kill him, right?
and he puts a wig on. I mean, he's bald, so that does a lot.
He puts a clown wig on.
He puts a Rasta wig on.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Look at this. Shaves his
does look
moustache.
different.
He looks like a northern miner.
He does look, yeah.
You're right.
You're right, mate. No, I'm
You
just
don't
try-
understand what it's like down in the mines.
No, I'm just trying to get out of Petersburg, mate. I want to go down Finland, I reckon.
Yeah, Thatcher's
Not
clothes
what it was.
Oh, bloody hell. My son's into ballet. I think he's a puff, but anyway. Oh, he's a bloody puff, mate. This is Billy Elliot,
Lenin's
isn't it?
face is saying, "You'll never be anything, son."
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are you going down to that there, London?
What do you mean you don't support Man United? What are you on about? What are you fucking on about? What do you mean you want to watch the women's team?
So he's got a Rasta wig with the hat on.
Yeah,
and
man.
No one.
My name not Lenin. My name Bob.
And how he managed to escape is his friends who run the trains managed to get him on a train.
What if instead of having banks, we just everyone just passed the joint
Yeah.
around the circle like it's fair? Yeah.
Nationalise the pum pum.
Yeah, guys, we've got to take the pum pum out of private hands and
Yep.
into public ownership.
Peace, land and pum pum. Right. So sorry. So this is a good bit actually. So he dresses up as a miner,
He dresses up as a
or
miner.
a Rasta, whatever.
As a
Who
Rasta, he's
fucking
got a
cares?
Rasta wig on.
Yeah.
And to get him on the train, he goes in as one of the train workers. So he's in the engine room.
Right.
That's how he sneaks off, right?
Shoveling shit.
Shoveling coal. Apparently, he puts an absolute shift in as well.
Yeah.
So this guy he fucking
That
loves
wig's
it.
taken years off him, by the way.
He really has.
You know what he looks like?
Go on.
He looks like the kid from Adolescence.
He does.
What the fuck?
Sort of like an older version of.
Anyway. Sorry. So he's shoveling coal in the train.
Yeah. And then he gets to Finland and he basically.
And is Finland? Sorry, Finland's not a country at this point. Finland's part of Russia, or it's part of the empire.
Sort
I
of,
think?
but it's still a concept.
It's right.
It's part of
Have
the
you been
empire.
to Finland?
Yes.
It's not much of a concept.
No.
Even now.
What annoys me about Finland is when people say it's the happiest country in the world.
It's fucking not.
It's fucking
No, it's not. Sweden or Norway's the happiest country in the world. Finland is the most depressed. They have about 2
Are you
hours
saying
daylight.
personally or what the actual stats say?
I went to Finland. I supported Doc Brown in Finland for one night, and it was just the bleakest night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the gig was half sold. The like it's dark at fucking 3 p.m.
Yeah, so I don't know how they're calculating happiest country in the world because it's clearly they're just doing some stats like I don't know how fucking clean the energy is or whatever.
The country that invents the sauna, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, what should we do today? Why don't we just fucking get in a hot room? Because that's going to be better than being outside.
In Finland, even the benches are designed for loneliness and isolation. In Finland, they have solo seat benches that face away from each other.
Jesus Christ.
So because it's such an isolated country, like loneliness is so built into their culture, they actually have benches so you don't have to look at a stranger, right? Yeah, like that's in Finland.
Oh,
Park
fuck.
benches made so you can just be on your own.
Yeah.
What I find interesting with Finnish people, if you compare them to British people, is we often get compared. We can be misunderstood that Finnish people are oppressed, or a lot of Northern Europeans are oppressed. They're not repressed. They're authentic.
Yes.
That's just who they are.
Mm.
I feel British people are Italians in Finnish people's bodies. Do you know what I mean?
I disagree.
So it's like emotional people stuck in a repressed form. That's why British people are the way they are. If you speak to Danish people, Swedish people, Germans, Norwegians, Dutch,
yeah,
they're actually very different because they're authentically being.
They're frank,
but they're just being cold because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Whereas I think British people are forcing themselves to be cold, and that's why we're so the way.
I'd say they force themselves to be warm when really they're cold. It's the other way around. We think we're trying to be Italian, which is what manners are.
Right.
When really we're Dutch.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I feel like British people are hyper emotional, but it's just we just completely beat it out ourselves. Whereas you speak to a Dutch person or a Finnish person, there's nothing there. They're just like that, and it's who they are. Whereas I think us, it's the awkwardness, the embarrassment is because it's bubbling under the surface, so much emotion with nowhere for it to go.
I think the ugliest woman I've ever seen was in Finland.
Could have been Lenin wearing another one of his
Could have been
disguises.
Lenin with some fake tits on. Bobbing around again.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, we've both toured this great country of ours, so we've had a real safari of some of the biggest
Don't
honkers
get
in
me
the
wrong.
world.
I've been on a great Uggo tour of the UK. I spent all
Ugliest
last...
city in the UK? Poole in Bournemouth's pretty bad.
Pool
near
scores high.
Bournemouth.
Pool scores high. I just think across all metrics, I think you're either looking at Stafford or you're looking at Stockton-on-Tees. I think Stockton-on-Tees or Portsmouth is...
It's not. There's no cock teasers in Stockton-on-Tees.
No. The cock is not teased.
Cock flop.
Cock flop.
Stockton-on-Flop.
Cock flop. Yeah, Cockton on flop.
Yeah. So you'd say it's a race between Stockton-on-Tees and where? Sorry. Stafford.
I think Stafford. That's doing Stafford disservice. Stafford's fine. Stockton is bad. Stockton's really, really, really bad across all metrics. Health, happiness, ugliness.
Yeah.
Stockton is bad.
But I want to hear more about this ugly woman you met in Finland. What was it? What did she look like?
She was in the hotel. She worked at the hotel, and I just remember. Do you ever see? When you see someone really strikingly beautiful across the street, and you just kind of you stare, and then you think I shouldn't stare, and then you kind of you just
shout.
remember them. You remember them. No, you shout witch.
Oh!
You remember them, and you just sort of you can still remember just sort of random gorgeous people that you've seen.
Yeah, they come up in your dreams. That
Yeah.
They wove into
Well,
the
there's an
fabric
inverse
of
of that where you're so horrifically ugly. You go, I still think about that woman. God, she looked like a fridge.
Anyway, we should leave it with.
Let's finish the story of Lenin in Finland.
Yeah, so
because this is amazing. What happens?
Lenin escapes to the woods of Finland into like a sort of log cabin, isolated. The only communication he has, obviously, he's raring to go. He's desperate to come back.
Hard as
revolution.
nails.
Lenin is driven by two things, which I don't think is necessarily consistent with all revolutionaries. Some are like martyrs. Some are like reckless.
Yeah.
He obviously wants revolution to happen, but he's also very terrified he's going to be killed. So he's very very careful about his death. He's not reckless with it at all.
No.
He gets sent copies of the Pravda is the only way that he keeps up to date with things. And then every time he finds out what's happening, he writes pages upon pages. He sat there in his log cabin, sat on a log, just furiously writing
Is there a schedule for logs?
What do you mean?
Like there was on the train? Is there a schedule for who's doing logs?
It's like, well, he's only one person.
Oh, of course, right. He's
So-
probably still scheduling it.
He's still scheduling it. He's like, you've got to be fair. But then do you want to tell the story of the...
Yeah, so he's in this log cabin
Yeah.
and swimming in lakes, whatever, and eventually out of the kind of woods staggers this Cossack, I think, soldier, and he just sort of comes up. And I mean, this is a sort of what would happen in the early 20th century. Just a guy would come out of the woods and be like, "Oh, fucking hell, I'm thirsty. Mate. Can I have a drink of lemonade or something?"
Yeah.
And Lenin's like, I don't know if he just frantically gets the wig on or anything. He's like,
Here, man.
Here, man. What you talking about? And he lets him in, and then he goes, "What are you doing out here?" And the Cossack's like, "Well, we're looking for this cunt called Lenin."
Yeah, this boring old cunt called Lenin. He's
boring.
bald. He wouldn't be you because you're not bald.
You're not bald, and you sound Jamaican. He's not Jamaican. He's from somewhere in Russia. But anyway, if you see him, I guess let us know. But
and he comes in for a drink. He entertains him for a bit.
And they chat for like 20 minutes, and then he goes, "Anyway, thanks so much, mate." And he's like, "All right."
I'm pretty sure the Lenin guy.
I think that Lenin guy went over
like
there, that
way
way.
over there.
Anyway, and then so that's when Lenin realizes he needs to change location again. But again, you think of the margins
What
of
could
history.
happen?
If he'd thrown some cheese on his head, then he'd lost all credibility.
Throw cheese on whose head?
Sorry, the Cossack had thrown a slice of cheese on Lenin's head.
What would have happened?
Well, Lenin couldn't have carried on. He'd been humiliated.
In front of one person?
Yeah.
That would have been enough.
No, but you can't live with yourself if you've been,
Right.
If you're bald and someone throws some cheese on your head,
It would affect his view of himself, his own aura.
He goes, "I can't lead a revolution.
I've got fucking
I got
cheese on
fucking cheese on my head. I couldn't even keep my bald head free of slices of cheese. Who am I to lead a revolution?"
Kerensky becomes prime minister, and we'll leave it at this, which
Yeah.
is one of my favourite parts of it. This is when it starts to really ramp up.
We'll leave off here. Kerensky's prime minister. We are in August 1917. The next episode, and if there is a second one, I don't know, but the final parts of the episodes, they're all on the Patreon already. And there's lots of fun bonus stuff on there if you want to join. But if not, thank you for stopping by, and we shall see you next time.
Goodbye.